Good evening, friends. Continuing my Sunday messages on sanatana dharma, we are currently delving into the epic Mahabharata. Having concluded our exploration of Vana Parva last week, we now transition to the Virata Parva. The Virata Parva, the fourth of the 18 books in the Mahabharata, chronicles the 13th year of Pandava's exile, during which they must remain incognito to avoid another 12 years in the forest. And this pivotal section showcases the Pandavas' efforts to live discreetly and the challenges they face while maintaining their anonymity. At the dawn of the 13th year of exile, the Pandavas sought a secure refuge. Yudhishthira consulted Arjuna, who recommended several kingdoms, with Matsya being the most promising due to its virtuous ruler, King Virata. And Yudhishthira concurred with this plan. And Arjuna inquired about the roles they would assume in Virata's kingdom. Yudhishthira declared he would masquerade as a Brahmana named Kanka, advising the king and entertaining him with dice and chess. And Bhima would disguise himself as a cook named Vallabha, impressing the king with his culinary prowess and wrestling skills. And Arjuna intended to pose as a eunuch named Brihannala, teaching, singing, and dancing. Nakula would become a housekeeper named Granthika, while Sahadeva would serve as a cowherd named Tantripal. And Draupadi would assume the role of a maidservant named Sairandri, attending to King Sudeshana. And Yudhishthira instructed their followers to spread the word that they had been left in the Dvaitavana forest and were unaware of the Pandavas' whereabouts. After bidding farewell to their companions, the Pandavas set out for Virata. And on the outskirts of Virata's kingdom, Yudhishthira asked Arjuna where they should conceal their divine weapons. And Arjuna suggested a shami tree on a nearby hill. They wrapped their weapons in an animal skin and hung them from the tree, telling locals it was the corpse of an ancient mother. Assuming their new identities, the Pandavas entered Virata's city. Yudhishthira, as Kanka, prayed to the goddess Durga, who assured him they would remain undiscovered and ultimately triumph. And in the court, King Virata, impressed by Yudhishthira's noble bearing, appointed him as an advisor, treating him with great respect. Bhima, as Vallabha, became the head cook, quickly becoming a favorite for his culinary expertise, and Draupadi, as Sairandri, convinced Queen Sudeshana to take her on as a maidservant protected by her supposed Gandharva husbands. And Sahadeva, as Tantripal, became the caretaker of Virata's cows and impressing the king. And Arjuna, as Brihannala, to teach the king's daughter dancing and music, convincing Virata after proving his eunuch status. And Nakula, as Granthika, took charge of the royal horses, his skills impressing the king. Now, the Pandavas lived undetected in Virata's kingdom. Despite Duryodhana's spies searching diligently, they could not locate the Pandavas, protected as they were by divine intervention. that the Pandavas continued their exile, anticipating the day they would reclaim their kingdom. And the Pandavas dwelled clandestinely in the kingdom of Virata for 3 months, seamlessly fulfilling their duties while evading detection. As the 13th year of their exile unfolded, a magnificent festival was organized, attracting skilled wrestlers and athletes from far and wide. Among the formidable competitors, one wrestler, Jimuta, distinguished himself with his towering physique and undefeated streak. Unable to tolerate Jimuta's unchallenged supremacy, King Virata summoned his Kut Vallabha, who was Bhima in disguise, to compete in the arena. And though hesitant due to the risk of exposure, Bhima acquiesced to the king's command, thus ensured a titanic clash between Bhima and Jimuta, reminiscent of enraged elephants in combat. Ultimately, Bhima's indomitable strength prevailed as he effortlessly lifted Jimuta and hurled him to the ground, securing a resounding victory. The triumph elicited great jubilation from Virata and his subjects, who lavished Bhima with abundant accolades and rewards. After 10 months of inconspicuous living in Virata's capital, the Pandavas remained undetected. However, their peaceful existence was disrupted upon the return of Kichaga, the formidable commander in chief of Virata's army. Enchanted by Draupadi's ethereal beauty, Kichaga approached his sister Queen Sudeshana, inquiring about Draupadi's identity. Sudeshana divulged Draupadi's status as her maidservant, thereby igniting Kichaga's fervent desire for her. Undeterred by Draupadi's rejection and her warnings about her Gandharva husbands, Kichaga sought his sister's assistance in wooing Draupadi. And during a lavish festival, Sudeshna dispatched Draupadi to Kichaga's abode under the pretext of procuring wine. And despite Draupadi's trepidation and apprehensions, she reluctantly complied with Sudeshna's directive. And seizing the opportunity, Kichaga brazenly proposed Draupadi, who vehemently rebuffed his advances and swiftly sought refuge in King Virata's court. Incensed, Kichaga pursued Draupadi and subjected her to indignities in the king's presence. Witnessing Draupadi's humiliation, Bhima's righteous wrath surged. Yet Yudhishthira restrained him to preserve their incognito status. And Draupadi, in her distress, appealed to the king for justice, but he professed ignorance of the incident, prompting his counselors to lend credence to Draupadi's plight. And subsequently, Draupadi implored Bhima to avenge her honor by confronting Kichaga. And moved by Draupadi's entreaties and consumed by his own fury, Bhima devised a stratagem and Draupadi enticed Kichaga to a deserted dance hall at night where Bhima lay in wait disguised. Upon Kichaga's arrival, believing he was meeting Draupadi, Bhima revealed himself and engaged in a ferocious melee with Kichaga. After an arduous struggle, Bhima vanquished Kichaga, crushing him to death and leaving his remains as a grim testament to Draupadi's dignity. The following dawn, Draupadi exposed to Kichaga's demise, attributing it to her Gandharva husband's wrath. Enraged by their brother's fate, Kichaga's skin sought to cremate Draupadi alongside his remains. However, Bhima intervened, obliterating Kichaga's brothers with a formidable tree. Assuring Draupadi of her safety, Bhima resumed his guise, quelling the fears of the populace. And upon learning of the tragic events, the citizens implored King Virata to expel Draupadi to avoid further reprisals from her husbands. Upon receiving the king's edict, Sudeshna conveyed it to Draupadi, who beseeched her for a brief extension of her stay. Promising her imminent departure with her husband, Draupadi's plea was granted by the queen, allowing her to remain concealed within the palace, awaiting the culmination of their exile. Despite enduring myriad trials during their exile, the Pandavas uh, unwaveringly upheld their commitment to righteousness. Their steadfast adherence to moral principles amidst adversity serves as a beacon of inspiration for individuals grappling with formidable challenges in the contemporary era. Bhima's resolute action in avenging Draupadi's honor exemplifies the valor required to confront injustice and champion righteousness even at the personal peril. His bold stance underscores the potent agency of individuals in combating oppression and standing up against wrongdoing. Throughout their tribulations, the Pandavas epitomized the resilience forged through unity and reciprocal aid within the familial bond. Their cohesive solidarity not only enabled them to surmount obstacles but also underscores the potency of collective cooperation in navigating life's trials. And Draupadi's steadfast refusal to yield to the Kichagas advances underscores the imperative of upholding women's agencies and intrinsic dignity. Her unwavering assertion of personal boundaries highlights and the societal imperative to safeguard women's rights and autonomy. And Kichaga's downfall serves as a cautionary tale about the pernicious pitfalls of hubris and unbridled lust. His reckless pursuit of Draupadi and disregard for ethical boundaries culminate in his ruin, illustrating the dire consequences of yielding to base impulses and forsaking moral rectitude. And Draupadi's stoic endurance and amidst the trials underscores the significance of resilience and fortitude in surmounting adversity. And in summary, the narrative of Pandava's exile and Draupadi's encounter with Kichaga imparts profound lessons about the paramount of upholding moral values, confronting injustice with courage, and championing the cause of righteousness, a timeless wisdom that resonates profoundly with the contemporary audiences navigating the complexities of modern society. Have a wonderful week ahead. Best regards, Raju Krishnan, Hyderabad.